Hi, it's Majo John Madden from my camper van in Hidalgo County, Texas. More and more I'm understanding there's not a Hidalgo town. When I ask people what's worth seeing around here, they don't know of anything. And they consistently do not know about the Santa Ana National Wildlife Refuge, 12 miles from here, which is awesome. Awesome. But people live in their own little bubbles, you know? It's as true of country people as city people. I think both. If I ask them what's going on with this construction project out here, this huge monster construction project that has to have been going on for months, I bet there will be only a handful of people in the entire Walmart store who have ever asked the question. Who have ever gotten curious about what's that all about out there. So I bet most people will say, I don't know. Just because most people do. I wrote a piece, 35 years ago, called I Found a New Restroom. Because when I was working at Cincinnati Gas, I always turned right and went to the restroom, the men's room there. And one day I just absentmindedly turned left. And there was another men's room down there, and it was nicer. I liked it a lot more. And it got me scratching my head and asking the question, when we do things out of habit, what are we missing? When we stay in our comfort zone, what are we missing? So I've talked a lot lately about managing the weather. Mark Twain famously said, everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it. Well, I do all the time. I manage the weather in our car by which angle I'm facing. Is the sun coming through the windshield? Because I just went through my paces. I was doing donuts out here, basically trying to get where the sun was not hitting the windshield, and when the little bit of a breeze, oh, there it is, to a place where the doors could open and I've got all my doors open, the little bit of a breeze today. Yesterday we had big wind, day before we had big wind, and it moderated the heat. Today it's up around 90 and hardly a breeze stirring. Great for shooting videos, but not for not roasting. So I went to the convenience store. There's a Stripes right across from the Walmart. And we've been staying at the Walmart a lot using the Wi-Fi and where's the strongest Wi-Fi and this and that. But I said, no, let's get out of Dodge. Let's drive across the street. Let's get bold and go to the Stripes, and we'll get a much cheaper cold Coke over there. And maybe there will be a spot. It's very often in Stripes stores, some of the pumps catch a breeze. They're up on a hill, but that was not true over there at all. So there's no point in staying there. And I did check the balance of my debit card because I've got two accounts. One is PayPal, which is really useful and so online friendly for moving money and keeping track of your money. And I picked up an account. PNC Bank is like the sixth bank in the country in Brownsville during the last 10 months because I wanted a local bank for various reasons, ID and stuff like that. And it turned out that because I don't have good credit, and I make no attempt to have good credit because when I don't like the creditor, I don't pay him. And I long ago said, oh, well, you're going to have terrible credit, so forget it. Don't even have that be part of your mindset that you want to be the victim of the credit accounting agencies. Just do what you're going to do. Ditch that bank. No, you're not paying them. No. Be my own person around money. So it's a really good decision. But because of that, the only credit card they could give me at the PNC Bank was one that has limited features, like no app. And there's really no way to go online and find out your level. And so I hadn't seen for a couple of days, and I checked it at the debit machine, and it was less than I hoped. It's the 10th of the month, 7 days since I got my check, and out of my $1,900, there's $100 left, and a lot of the month to come. We have ways of getting food. There won't be any problem getting food. And I have two crisp $100 bills in an envelope that's intended to be a potential tip for getting through the border crossing. And I have a way of offering it that does not make it obvious that I'm paying somebody off. They will say, Oh, what's the $200 in here? Well, that's in case I decide to renew that insurance policy I just gave you. So I think I'm covered there. But if I use that for that, then I got $100 for the month. Now, my friend, I don't want to say my dear friend, but very significant friend, Phil Lout. I knew him in Cincinnati when I worked for Cincinnati Gas, which was about 35 years ago. He's a semi-famous prosperity writer and coach. You can find him on Wikipedia. Phil, L-A-U-T. Wrote a book called Money is My Friend. I met him through some kind of network in Cincinnati. We became friends. And he did rebirthing with me, which is a old-timey, not so old-timey. It's still being used, but in more refined ways. Stanislav Grof, G-R-O-F, developed holotropic breathwork, which is very rigorous and very, really solid stuff. Rebirthing had its flake balls, but Phil was good with it. And we'd get together and do rebirthing where each of us would take a turn breathing, and experiencing things. And the mantra was, if something came up, it's a way of facing your feelings and not avoiding them so much anymore, which people do, we all do all the time. And one of the mantras was, if a feeling starts to come up that feels really uncomfortable, breathe harder, breathe more, let your body move, get with the energy, and do whatever you need to do, cry, scream, whatever. And Phil would regularly say, I would infinitely rather have this feeling than having no feelings. And boy, I'm with that. When I encounter people who have no feelings, which is most of the human race, most of the human race is pretty frozen. People are not wide open. They're not open to the environment, to nature, to each other. And even worse so since the COVID shut us apart from each other and got us so terrified. And Trump got us into two different camps and confused and angry. There's so much anger and fear. People expressing their fear through anger. So much of that. So the people I walk past are pretty frozen, most of them. But Phil, the point with Phil was, Phil is an experimenter in prosperity. One of the exercises he would periodically do to keep himself sharp would be to parachute in, not literally, but drop himself in a city where he knew nobody, had no money. He had $100. He'd take $100 and can I restart my life with $100? And he always did, and he always had wonderful experiences, and it always worked. And he kept learning that, in fact, life will, I don't know how, I think for me, it would be an awful lot that life takes care of you. But also you have to take, life may say take that hill, but then you got to take it, So it's a dialectic back and forth between listening to life and then being really rigorous and resourceful and potent and go for it. And push people out of your way if you have to get something. If you have to. If they're like lollygagging and you have to get there, if you have time to do the polite thing, fine, but do what you have to. When life says this is your mission, this is what you're supposed to accomplish, you do it. You still have to do, even though I say being, and it's all about being, but if you're really surrendering to spirit, then spirit will say jump, and you jump. Yeah. So Phil made that work. So I've got $100. I've got $100, and I'm planning to restart my life in Mexico Sunday or Monday. I've always said month to month. I want to do it at the beginning of the month where I have a lot of money in my pocket. Well, I don't. I've got a full tank of gas. I think it's enough to get to Tampico, my first destination, 6 hours away. And it sounds like a pretty spectacular place and a great place to spend the month of March. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, huh? Ain't no creeks rising in Texas right now. And the Lord honestly seems absent a lot in Texas. What people think is the Lord is some pretty mixed up crap. Starting with, God is not a dude. I go around and around. No. Do you actually think God is a person and that like he's a guy? Come on, wake up, people. Jeez Louise. But they also think the election was stolen, right? So, $100, that's great. Full tank of gas. What'd they say on the Blues Brothers? Half a pack of cigarettes, full tank of gas. We're wearing sunglasses at night. Let's go. Let's go.